Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Reviewing Comics with me, your host, Alexander Turbin. Today I'm going to be going over the Blair Witch Project, which came out in 1999. It's not a adaptation of the movie. It's actually just a different kind of storyline. I think it's a one-shot. I don't think there's any other issues. But before we get into that, I'd like to show you some of my own work, which is Random Access. This is a 12-page, full-size, sometimes full color, getting back to color, but for the recent past, it's been black and white. But I'm going to get back to color, like I said, with backup stories by Chris Knox and Paul Courtjohn. And you can get these at patreon.com/Alex Turbin, or you can go to my website, alexanderturbin.com, which has all of the random accesses, as well as Mutandis and The Forlorn and all of the different books that I've done in my life. Or you could just message me at AlexTurbin04401 at Instagram, or AlexTurbin04401 at yahoo.com, which is my email. So, Blair Witch Project, 1999 from Oni Press. Like I said, it's not the adaptation. It's really just three different stories, three individual stories. And we're doing this, of course, because it's Halloween month. It's October and it's cold outside, and we're chilly, and it's dreary, and the leaves are turning, and it looks just like hell warmed over, and it's scary looking outside, and October is definitely the month for the scariness, and so that's why we're doing reviewing all of the scary comics that I have, and hopefully I could get some more and save them up for next year. So I guess this is a retelling of some deaf mute person that was in the woods, and he got hit in the head and he lost consciousness, and he was in the Blair Woods, I guess. Excuse me. So he was in the Blair Woods, and he lost consciousness, but then he came back awake, and he made a comic book about his experiences, which were just kind of ramblings and weird. And I guess the editor of Oni or whatever was given this mini comic that this guy had created, and there was like a kind of a horror story. It didn't really tie into the Blair Witch mythos, but he decided, the editor decided, that when the movie company came to him to do a Blair Witch thing, I think the movie company came to him and asked him to do it. He wanted to do a retelling of this crude little mini comic that this guy had made, who I guess he had, after he got out of the Blair Witch Woods, he made the mini comic, and he was trying to give it to everybody he could, but nobody wanted it or anything. And I think he ended up going into an insane asylum or something, and then killing himself. So it was kind of just a sad, tragic tale of a mini comic artist. So all of you mini comic artists out there, you take heed. Just keep doing what you're doing and don't listen to anybody else. So these are three different stories by three different great artists, and written by the same person, Jen Van Meter, who I guess was tasked with looking at this mini comic and going through it and stuff, and also looking up some Blair Witch myths and stuff from New Jersey. So let's get into the story. I'm not going to really go too much in the art and the writing because it's good. Let's just leave it at that. Three different artists. Anthologies are a huge part of horror comics, and I'm not sure why, but I think it's just a short clips of horror is better than longer drawn out stories. I don't know. If anybody has any ideas on that, let me know in the comment section. I'm always looking to hear from you guys. And I was scrolling through my my YouTube, and my YouTube studio actually, and I saw a whole bunch of comments and stuff from you guys and that I had never seen before, and I really apologize for not getting back to those comments sooner. I didn't see them, but I guess I'll have to go into my YouTube studio instead of just into the YouTube app and seeing your comments, because I don't always see them, but when I do see them, rest assured that I'm going to respond, and I am looking for them. So let's get to this. Ellie Kedwards. So I'm gonna talk about the art and the writing as we're reading it. So it's really about this woman who has some sort of curse on her. It doesn't really say what the curse is, what happens, or whatever. But she's holding this Blair Witch thing, so I don't know if it's like a family curse or whatever. And she gets, because she can sew really good, she gets a plot of land and she settles down. She wants to forget about the curse. She doesn't want to have anything to do with it. And I guess she's from Ireland, or she's from another country. She comes to the United States and she gets a plot of land, and because she's working as a seamstress or whatever. And so she goes into this town, which I love this art. I really wish that I could do stuff like this. It's kind of like how Frank Miller had his style, and then he went to Sin City and did kind of a completely different style. And I really wish that I could just, like, with a flick of the switch, just change my style into these big, bold, beautiful lines. And I guess if I just used a big ink brush and just tried it out as much as I could, I probably could maybe do it, even at this late age in the game. I don't know. I might have to try it, because I really love these big, blue, beautiful lines. It reminds me so much of David Mazzucchelli stuff, in so much as the line work and whatnot. Not so much the big inking lines. But also, like I said, it's super reminds me of Sin City in that style, where just there's a whole heavy foundation of blacks and whites and negative space and positive space, and really, but there's also a great amount of texture in it as well. So it's not just like throwing ink down and not knowing where you're going and what you're doing. This guy, who is Tommy Lee Edwards, he really knows what he's doing, and this great positive negative space thing he's got going on is really fantastic. And I really truly love the big beautiful lines, and I'm going to try to do it, but it's I don't know. I think it's something you have to kind of have as your style and the way you create comics, or I don't know. I'm going to try it. We'll see. But I really love it. I love the big, beautiful lines. I think that's my catchphrase for this artist, Tommy Lee Edwards, is just the shading, the shadowing, and like even when there's not a lot of minute details, there's not a lot of minute details in the eyes, or the facial expressions or whatever, or the figures, but he has such a great grasp of anatomy. And so much of making comics is not the actual line work, that it's not the lines you put down, it's seeing things, it's seeing how people slump over, like this lady we're going to get back to the story, but and these little kids and this judge and the wrinkles under his eyes and the windows. It's being able to see, and also translate what you see in your head, as well as what is out there in the natural world, onto the page in a narrative way. So, I mean, that is the supreme goal, and I'm still tasked with trying to find that goal and trying to do that goal. But, this guy is really fantastic. It almost looks like he doesn't even pencil. It looks like he just goes straight into the inks, but I don't know. That's just a crazy thought. If anybody knows anything about this artist, let us know in the comment section. So she gets this house, and she tries to keep to herself, but she becomes old, and as often happens with older single ladies. Back in the day, they were the kids would bug her and bother her, and make up rumors and stories and stuff. And soon the stories caught wildfire, and the townsfolk called her a witch. They brought her into jail, into the trial. So this is a trial, and it's like they almost automatically convict her of being a witch, and they start just torturing her. And even though she's being tortured and maimed and stuff, she doesn't want to let the curse out because she knows it's a horrible thing. And so even though they're doing this torture to her, and she's not a witch, but I guess she has a curse on her. So she's not a witch, but she has some sort of witchcraft on her, apparently, or whatever. They take her out into the woods because she hasn't actually confessed to being a witch, so they can't really just outright kill her. So they just leave her out in the woods. And I love these woods. I love these. It's just black lines. It's no real texture than the bark or anything. But I mean, and you've got this snowy woods. It's just really it's detail without detail is what I'm going to say. And it's just it really comes into focus that what I've been saying for a while now is that it's not the little minute details or little inking lines that you do, scritch, 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 scritch. It's the overall layout and design of your whatever it is you're doing, of your character, your page, your panel. It's if you don't have a solid design and layout of the thing that you're doing, then it doesn't matter what little scritches that you make. If you don't know what you're doing and you don't have a solid foundation, then it's not going to look as good as it possibly can. So she's out there in the woods, and I guess kids come out there and she kills them or something. I don't know. It's really vague. That's kind of one of the only things I don't like so much about the book. But I mean, that's kind of a horror trope, is that things are a little bit vague to increase the tension and increase the creepiness factor and all that stuff. So yeah, she dies out in the woods, but she stays out in the woods because she's a witch, and or she has the curse. The town is cursed, and but they are going to try to sell her land, which I guess is the focus of the curse. And I think that's how it ends, is that the curse is just going to keep continuing and continuing. And that's kind of a main theme within all of these stories, is that the witch may die, she may have killed or whatever, but she continues on to go on to the next creepy or scary thing. So this is the next story, and it's by the same writer, Jen Van Meter, and the artist is Guy Davis, who, as you know, did Baker Street and a bunch of Sandman stuff. And I truly love Guy Davis's stuff, and he's really fantastic. I love his line work, and he doesn't have the big bold beautiful lines that the Tommy Lee Edwards does, but it's completely different. And you know, all artists are different, and you don't have to. Even though I'm like, I want to try this, I think it looks great. Doesn't mean that I'm going to abandon whatever style that I have just to go into a different type of style. I think any really good artist wants just to experiment. I mean, that's kind of the whole crux of being an artist, is experimentation and finding new things and finding valuable inspirations and learning from your failures and learning from your successes is really the most important part in creating art, in my opinion anyway. So there's this little girl, and she's playing in her house in just the time period of the 1800s, 1700s, or whatever. That's just a creepy, scary, horror-filled time as far as I'm concerned. And you see like Outlander, where they time travel and back into that period, or whatever time traveling show or movie, and they go back to that period. I'm just like, what? They don't have toilet paper. They don't have toothbrushes. They don't have deodorant. Why would you ever want to live back then? But anyway, I digress. This little girl, and she's playing with a doll, and she has this moment of being possessed. I think a witch possesses her, because she starts, well, actually she sees the witch, but the witch leaves, and I don't know if the witch is actually ever there. I don't think she is. I think it's just in her head, and I think the witch actually just possesses the little girl, because on one side it's very much like Lord of the Rings and Gollum, where it's he's kind of talking to himself, but she's like has her regular dialogue and her stuff, and it's got the wiggly dialogue with, and that's the witch. So she's talking in her normal voice, and she's actually talking to the witch. So that's a very interesting way of putting it. And Guy Davis's style really lends itself heavily to this woodsy background atmosphere and stuff, and this whole time period of 1700s, 1600s, whatever it is. And so she goes off into the woods, and she's possessed by this witch, and the townsfolk are looking for her, but the witch is saying, hide from them, don't let them find you, stay hidden deep into the shadows. So she knows they're yelling to her, they're yelling her name, and she's just hiding, and she doesn't want anything to do with being found by them, because the witch has plans. And eventually they do find her, and because she lets them, and she kind of lures them into a trap and uses her new witch powers, and they're frozen in their tracks, and she starts doing this evil demonic thing. She uses a knife to, I don't know, cut their faces off and stuff, and she arranges them in this demonic circle, and just cuts them open and bleeds their entrails and all of this other stuff. It's really very gruesome stuff. And Guy Davis's art really lends itself to that as well. This whole technique I mean, it looks like a wood block scratching. The previous one looked like wood block stuff, where it would be heavy blacks and heavy whites and heavy positive negative space, whereas Guy Davis's stuff is a little bit more scratchy, a little bit more like an old time newspaper with just pen nib and stuff like that. And so then the girl who is possessed by the witch decides to go home. The witch lets her go home because she wants to continue her tirade, I guess, or she's done what she's accomplished. She I don't know, did this witchcraft. Excuse me. The mom finds her. She was worried sick. She's been gone for like a few days or a week or whatever. And but the girl, I guess, won't talk to anybody, and they think maybe she'll be okay, but they don't know, because she hasn't said anything, and they still haven't found the hunter or the people that were looking for her, that she chopped up into a million pieces. And that's basically just how it ends. This third story is again written by Jan Van Meter and art by BEM. I think that's a Grendel artist. This is a little bit more straightforward. I didn't really understand it completely. I mean, I understood the gist of it, but it's not really straightforward in what it is saying. There's not a lot of dialogue. It's mostly just prose and stuff that he's saying to himself, I guess. Never went down there, didn't belong. So he's an outsider, and he's like been fishing, but he does work. No, he builds his own house and stuff. And but then the witch shows up. So really, I mean, the witch is obviously the main crux of the whole comic book and all of the stories and stuff, and how she possesses people and makes them do horrible things. So at night she kind of possesses him and goes into his brain, and he's kind of going crazy. And then he digs up all of these little graves, and then he doesn't want to go down there. And actually, you think he's talking about the city, but he's really talking about the basement, where and possibly both, because he does go down to the city to grab some kids, much like the movie, where he had the kids, and he would put them in the corner while he killed the other ones. So that's basically the same thing here. He would tie them up and brought them down into the basement, and he would do horrible things, and he would have one of them in the corner looking away from him, so they couldn't see what was going on, which is really a very creepy thing. And that was a wonderfully creepy thing they created in the Blair Witch, because if you it's one thing to see horror. It's just like Alfred Hitchcock always did, where he would kind of insinuate the horrible thing that was happening, but he wouldn't actually show you. Just like Jaws, you hear the sound, but you don't actually see the shark. It makes it more terrifying. So that actually makes it more terrifying for the kid. And if the kid's terrified, then you, as the reader, is going to be terrified. So he's got all of these graves dug. And I guess in his head, he doesn't know what he's doing, but in reality, he's killing all these kids and torturing them and maiming them stuff. And he gets to the second to the last one, who's in the corner, and he just stops for some reason and lets him go. And he's it's over, ain't it? I don't understand this part. Maybe the witch just leaves him. But the killer says it's over, and he goes into town, and he turns himself in to the police, and the police go to his house and find the kid who's the lone survivor of all of the children who were killed. And then they hang the guy, and but I don't really understand this, because then it shows him he's going to be hung, but then it has this guy who maybe he's the little kid who later grew up to be the same thing, and so kind of having the Blair Witch curse kind of go on and on and on. So that's Kyle. Does it actually say his name, the little kid's name? I don't think it does. But I think this is the kid, and he grows up, and he's gonna only ever want to be left alone. I don't know. I don't know. I'm confused. But they hang the original killer, and I think that's the kid, and he's in the mental institution, so he's not killing any more kids. So I'm a little more than a little bit confused. The artwork is pretty good. Lots of dark, deep blacks and stuff. I definitely prefer the first two. They have definitely have specific styles, and he has a style too. And I'm certainly not saying he's bad, but I certainly I prefer the other two better. And then the final page actually shows you the original mini comic of the guy that was lost in the Blair Woods, and somebody knocked him in the head, but they brought him around or whatever, and then he had some kind of mental breakdown, and he created this mini comic that he was trying to show to everybody and stuff, but they wouldn't read it or whatever. And then it's just a bunch of ads for Oni Press stuff. So yeah, the Blair Witch Project is probably the creepiest and scariest of all of the horror comics that I've reviewed in the last year and this year. But it's very good. I wish they had used a different cover, because it really it leads you to think that this is actually a retelling of the movie, or an adaptation of the movie, but it really isn't. It's just those three stories of the Blair Witch, which they're very good stories. I've really enjoyed all of them. I really like the writing and the art in all of them, and I thought it was really good. So as for the review, I'm going to give this an 8.5. I really love the art, Guy Davis, and the first one, Tommy Lee Edwards. I really think that their art is fantastic. The art in the last one is not really for me. It's good, but it's not really fantastic. And the story, I'm not a horror story kind of guy. I'm not. I don't love horror, as everybody knows that's watching any of my videos. But it's a genre that I do sometimes enjoy. I mean, I like watching horror movies just like everybody else does. I'm just not one of those horror fans. So it's really not for me. But that being said, the artistry, you can't deny that it's great art in the first two stories, and you can't deny that the writing is really very good. It's nothing. I'm not overwhelmed by it. I don't think it's the greatest thing ever, but at the same time, it's very professional, very good. It was a nice, enjoyable read. So I'm gonna say I'm gonna give this an 8.5 because I did enjoy it. Um, I would pick up more of this kind of thing. I would pick up more Guy Davis. I would pick up more Tommy Lee Edwards stuff. Tommy Lee Edwards. Yeah, I would pick up more of his stuff. I would pick up more Blair Witch Project books. So yeah, I'm gonna give it an 8.5. Let me know what you guys think because I really enjoy seeing your guys' comments and responding and talking comics with you guys. So Blair Witch Project, I think it's a number one. I think it's a one shot actually. Blair Witch Project from 1999 by Oni Press, and thanks for watching. And if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, hitting the notification bell, and all of that cool stuff. And thanks for watching. And I will see you guys next week. And keep on creating.